Welcome. What I want to do today is show you how to factor an expression by grouping. Now, grouping comes about as a way to factor an expression when we're going to have four different terms. Because when we ask to factor something out, the first thing we always want to do is factor out the GCF. Well, when I look at these four terms, they don't share anything in common that I can commonly factor out. However, if I group them into smaller parts, I will be able to factor out GCFs. And that becomes kind of the really important part because, a lot of us get practice with factoring trinomials, and we notice that we can't factor this into that sort by using that type of method. But to factor by grouping, what we're going to want to do is group our first two terms and group our last two terms. Now, a lot of times it's going to depend on how the terms are arranged, and what we're going to do is, as I work through this, I'll show you what to look out for and what to look out for and what kind of traps we have ahead. So when I want to group this, like I said, I can't factor anything out totally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because now what I can do is if I just focus on factoring out a GCF out of here, I can find something that these two terms share. And then I can also find a term that these two share. So it's important that when you group them, that your two terms have something you can pull out. If not, you might have to rearrange them, or your problem won't be factorable. So first thing I look up here and I say, what can I factor out? Well, I know that both of these terms share a 3x. So when I factor out a 3x, I'm left with the y minus 8x. Now, it's important for you to understand that whatever your answer is here, but after you factor it out, you're going to want to get the exact same thing when you factor your GCF here. So that's the important part to look for. If you're not getting the same answer, you might want to check what are you factoring out as your GCF, or should you maybe rearrange your terms and see if you might be able to get that same answer. So since I have a y here, I'm going to want to factor out not just a 7, but a negative 7. So therefore, I'll still get a y inside. So when I factor out a negative 7 from a negative 7y, I'm left with a y minus 8x. Now what you can do is see that these two terms are now exactly the same. So what I can do is, just like we factored out GCFs before, I can take these as the GCF of my expression. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor these out of the expression. So when I factor these out, since both of these terms share a y minus negative 8x, I can factor them out, and I'm left with a 3x minus 7. And therefore, now I have just successfully factored by grouping. There you go.